to Gym Challenge Sunday number 2 here at Psycho Turtle. And thanks to our friends at Pokemon Labs for hosting this tournament. This is, we're going to set up, very excited about that. We have two longtime players, Robert Matthews, Brian Collins, both of which have had really consistent streaks over the past few days. And they're both bringing us some really interesting Pokemon. We're going to see two different Ogerpons on the field. On the left, we're going to see Robert on the left, and see Brian on the right. On the left, Robert is running Rillaboom for draft, Kingambit, Iron Bundle, Ogerpon, Heart Flame Form, and Landorus, while Brian is running Arcanine, Hisui, Tornadus Incarnate, Urshifu Rapid Strike, Ogerpon, Teal Mouse Form, Iron Hands, and Cresselia.
Both these teams do have a way to have Trick Room available to them should they need it, but I'm looking at different times. They're like different modes to each team where one side speed control with the Iron Bundle and the other side being Tornadus Incarnate for Brian and Robert respectively. And then we have the Landorus Therian for Intimidate and Hisui Arcanine for Brian.
So there's a lot of options here. I think it's a primarily fast team for Robert. However, that Kingambit, I will forever say, is one of the most underrated Pokemon in the last format. And this format, I think it has a huge niche, which will be exposed completely. Looks like Robert has to go for a fast mode. I think enter Brian here. You see the other Pokemon, and you're most likely slower. Arcanine and Urshifu are slower than Iron Bundle, slower than Ogerpon, to an extent slower than Rillaboom's Grass Glide, but I think here it wouldn't surprise me if it goes Cresselia Iron Hands here, just because it does deal. That combo is great, and then you can bring out your own either Urshifu, Arcanine's probably your best action. Yeah, Arcanine is, and then you can just bring out Arcanine, and that hits so much of Robert's team, the Rillaboom, the Kingambit, the Iron Bundle, and the Ogerpon Flyer. However, you have to pick the choice can. So just if Brian can play that Trick Room well, it can work very
Robert Matthews is going to do pretty well and the Rillaboom, so there's a big turn to decipher both players. The thing I'm thinking is, who goes to Taylor, who goes to Trick Room, what do they not do it?
Yeah, and you know what? Here, I'm really surprised to see either thing go off. Yeah, I think the Trick Room is solid fight. If you brought in the Landorus, yeah, that's good. If it's going to be slower than the Urshifu's going to be slower than the Arcanine. Yeah, it's going to be slower than the Ogerpon, though. So you can just go ahead and set up the Trick Room and fake out. I do think you need to get rid of that Arcanine because it can do some solid damage. But yeah, the Protecton for a draft's not a bad idea, and especially because Rillaboom's got Grassy Glide, so...
No Tailwind, no Tailwind, but we do see the Bleak Wind Storm. Does it connect on the Rillaboom? It does!
Rillaboom can take this.
Yeah, pretty considerably, but not by a big margin. And I think I saw it. Oh, Rock Slide comes out, so it's going to be a double target attack. Does the Rock Slide connect onto the Rillaboom? Yes, it does. Does it knock it out? It does!
I think Robert... I actually don't know what was necessarily the best play. I think on one hand, it's fine. Oh, okay, looking at the Pokemon that he had sent out, yeah, you gotta save the two in the back because... And you couldn't really do anything with Rillaboom, although why you didn't go for a Grassy Glide, I don't know on the Arcanine, but the Iron Bundle's now solid. But this combo of Iron Bundle and Furdraft's a bit weird, because it is two very awkward speed tiers. And I think that if you're able to just go ahead and get rid of the Arcanine, you'll be in better shape, and then set up a Trick Room, assuming that they're going to Tailwind. However, just having Furdraft on the field is a giant threat to Tailwind, and it incentivizes Brian not to go for Tailwind. So I think the option here, if you're Brian, you just... Get rid of the Furdraft and then set up your Tailwind.
Yeah, and I think I saw on the screen here that Robert committed a Terra Ghost with Iron Bundle. I'm not sure what he's worried about here. I mean, maybe...
It's the Rock Slide on Arcanine. It's yeah, that would one-shot. Because it is Choice Band Arcanine. So... The Terra Ghost makes sense.
The Terra Ghost does make sense here, but... Interesting to know that Brian didn't go for Tailwind here. Maybe he tried to call the Trick Room from the Farigiraf, or potentially was relying on a big damage roll on Bleak Wind Storm.
Well, we did not... It could go for a Tailwind here, although I personally think you gotta... Oh, we're seeing a double Terra.
We got Brian's Terras as well. This might be the Tornadus actually terrestrializing away from the flying type.
No, it's Arcanine Fairy.
Yeah, Arcanine Fairy instead, so...
Okay, getting rid of the Hydro Pump. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, like I said, you gotta... if you're Robert right now, you gotta get rid of the Arcanine.
Yeah, the Arcanine seems to be a big problem for Robert as of right now. Hydro Pump was the target. It is going into the Arcanine. It does take it pretty well, but not as well as he hoped. And Farigiraf's just going to dodge the Bleak Wind Storm. Iron Bundle takes it.
The Iron Bundle.
And the Arcanine does double connect the Rock Slide, and the Air Bundle does not survive the turn.
This
Two
Verdurf needs
knockouts
the Trick Room.
quickly. Two knockouts quickly for Brian.
This Verdurf needs a Trick Room right now. It needs to. Otherwise, yeah, it
There's
does.
the Trick Room.
Okay, this is what's so tough about Robert's position. But you have Trick Room. Yay! Your last mon's Ogerpon. And it's most likely, almost every Ogerpon player goes, Hearthstone Port goes max speed. That means Arcanine outspeeds and has a super effective attack on you. At this point, if this Verdurf cannot pick up the knockout on Arcanine, then it is game over. The good news here is that Verdurf has Psychic and Arcanine no longer resists, and Dazzling Gleam, and Arcanine no longer resists those with the Rock. It's pure fairy. It's going to be neutral on either way. I think right here, you Spiky Shield, and then you Psychic that for a draft.
Yeah, you can see here, I mean, if we were just Psychic's not just neutral already. Oh, wait a minute. Scary Face. Scary Face comes out from the Tornado. It's going to lower the Arcanine speed and make it under speed, and I think Robert did not react well to that. And here's the Rock Slide. Will it connect on the Farigiraf? Yes, it will. It's going to do another good damage to that Choice Band. That's a lot of damage, and the Psychic does come out. And now Robert has a lot to worry about with that Scary Face.
That was a great play. That was a really, really good play. If Brian has Urshifu, it's basic. I wouldn't say it's game over. Urshifu, let's see. Arcanine. The good news for Robert is that this
It's Urshifu.
it is Urshifu. I mean, at this point, you're just Surging Strikes.
He's just Surging Strikes and Scary Face.
But the thing you gotta watch out for, can Verdurf one-shot it with Psychic?
it would depend
That's
on how the Urshifus are being trained, because some of them do have bulk, some of them don't. Some of them only have bulk when they Terra, but now that Terra is gone, I don't know that bulk count is going to matter.
Yeah, I think it's gonna basically come down to whether or not you live a Psychic. Or Dazzling Gleam.
Or if you're underspeeding with Scary Face.
Probably not the Rillaboom. I'm sorry, probably not the Verdurf, because it's based on how I know its speed. If it's a 0 speed IV invested for a draft, then it is going to go first no matter what. If it's got some speed, then Urshifu goes first. Because Urshifu at half speed.
Yeah, we are going to see the Scary Face go into the Urshifu. It's trying to underspeed something.
I think for a draft outspeeds.
No, it does
Oh!
not. That's a big turnaround, and now we know that Urshifu underspeeds the Farigiraf under the Scary Face Trick Room, and Farigiraf gonna faint, so now the Ogerpon's alone.
So that, there's some, okay, if you are Robert, you do realize, okay, Ivy Cudgel, it's gonna do some solid damage on Tornadus, but not quite knock it out. And now Tornadus can just pick up a KO on Ogerpon with a, I don't actually, yeah, it's gotta just Bleak Wind. If not, then you get Surging Strikes, and that's enough.
Oh, it gets a Grassy Glide off into the Urshifu, not enough for a knockout.
Alright, so this game goes to Brian. I think though, if you're Robert, you take the loss, it'd be like, okay, that's fine, you know, because you learn a lot. For one, that Urshifu is not max speed. Because if it was max speed, it does not. Wow, okay, Ogerpon's bulk is surprising.
Bleak Wind's one connects, though.
Okay, so yeah, this game goes to Brian. But there's a couple things. If you know, if your Farigiraf is not, if it's like a new, like, you know your speed of your Farigiraf, you can now tell whether or not this Urshifu is max speed or not. And I think that is super, super valuable, because it allows you to be like, oh, it's not max speed. All right, well, I've got Landorus. I think I can actually get rid of it now. Because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, a max speed Landorus will outspeed an Urshifu if it's going Adamant. So with a... Okay, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have Terra Flying. But if it did have Terra Flying, it would be a good idea. But I think right now, if you're Robert, you're thinking, okay, let's take the advantage of what they did, what Brian did in round 1, and let's see what can I do to adjust. Frankly, like I said, I don't think Trick Room works on Robert's team in this mode. I think you got to go full-on offense speed, especially knowing that Urshifu is probably not as max speed as it could be, and also take advantage of that Terra Fairy on King Gambit. That's a good Pokemon onto a lot of Brian's Pokemon, or Brian. Yeah,
I mean, essentially the Arcanine lead that you had the first game, and it's just really hard to identify. Like, the Trick Room was good, first of all. Second of all, that Ogerpon did a lot more damage than I was thinking it would at neutral, and then interesting to note that Brian just opted not to go for Tailwind at all during that set. First game.
The Tailwind, it's not useful right now, I don't think, because you do have the Trick Room. and looking at what was out, like naturally, your Pokemon outspeed. I mean, Arcanine, Urshifu, it's not. I mean, they can outspeed most of Robert's team. Gotta watch out for the Ogerpon and the Landorus and the bundle. So half. I mean, and the nice thing about those is they really can't. If you Terra at the right place, they can't really do much to you. Especially Ogerpon Fire on Arcanine. That's a tough matchup. And a lot of people put Arcanine on specifically to counter Ogerpon Fire.
Instead, no Arcanine this time. We're just gonna see the Urshifu and Tornadus, and Rillaboom and Kingambit is on the field for Robert. Although the Kingambit would wish that he would have seen the Arcanine right now.
Better lead for Robert than the last game because you have Fake Out on the Urshifu, but you will probably then get rid of that Tornadus. There's two options. You can either fake. I think Robert might have made a mistake here, but going for the Protect on the Rillaboom. But I think that the best bet would to fake out the Urshifu and then go for a Kaito Cleave onto the Tornadus, and then at the next turn you could Terra Kingambit and survive the hits from Urshifu, and then just go double nut priority move and get rid of them. And I think that would have been a better option. I think going for the Protect on Rillaboom is going to be a big mistake.
I mean, it's not really a mistake if you're trying to dodge a Bleak Wind Storm here, or you're trying to catch the Urshifu with Detecting.
Okay, that works. I totally thought the Urshifu was going to go for a close combo on Kingambit, but I do think that, you know, you live the hit, and I'm pretty sure that Urshifu...
It was Bleak Wind Storm that came out, so that was why Rillaboom protected.
It wasn't a bad play. I still think it consistently... You kind of had to rely on this Urshifu to protect because...
Oh, there's a speed drop, and that's going to boost the Defiant.
Okay.
And Kingambit's going to go up to +2 attack, and now let's see what the Kaito Cleave went. It went
That's
into
out.
the
That
Tornadus, and it's gone.
That was a brilliant... Oh, I mean, it was a lot of luck with that Bleak Wind drop, but I think that was really smart because... okay, it makes sense actually with the Protect. Don't forget, Rillaboom has Grass Glide. I'm pretty sure that does knock out Urshifu Rapid Strike. So that's probably why we saw the Protect, but which props to Robert. I'm still getting used to the Rillaboom Grassy Glide.
Oh boy. We're seeing the Terra Fairy come out right now, and it's going to try to damage this Urshifu unless it switches to Terras.
This Urshifu is in a bad spot, a really bad spot actually, and Kingambit is in a fantastic spot because that Terra is going to keep you alive against the Iron Hands. But here's the hard part: Iron Hands, just in general. The good news, Rillaboom puts the pressure on the Urshifu, and I don't blame you. I'm guessing we're gonna see Landorus kind of switch in here. Yeah, there's no surprise.
So it's gonna be an Intimidate coming in here, and hopefully lower the damage output on Iron Hands. Maybe not the Urshifu if it went for the Surging Strikes, but if it opted not to go for the Surging Strikes, that Kingambit's gonna be getting some good food. And here comes Terra Fairy on the Kingambit. Oh wait, this is Brian's. It's gonna be the Urshifu. It's gonna be Urshifu in the water.
Did they go? Okay, Brian. This is going to be interesting. If he's Surging Strikes onto that Rillaboom slot, that is a good predict right there.
I mean, now wait a minute. Now that he's Terra, Kaito Cleave, if Robert went for it, now it's neutral.
You do keep your stab boost or special attack, special type, or same type attack bonus. Gosh, it's been a while since I've had to say that out loud. But Kingambit does keep the
It's Surging Strikes. Where did it go? It went into the Kingambit slot, and oh, this is going to be close.
It'll take it. It's Kingambit.
This is going to be close. Yeah, it's going to survive.
Yeah, Kingambit's just nuts. What I'm surprised we saw actually it was not a fake out from the Iron Hands.
Oh, Heavy Slam reads the Terra, and Robert is not happy about that double target, but it made sense.
It definitely made sense. I think Robert's still in a fine position. You did waste your Terra. That's unfortunate. But the good news is Rillaboom puts a lot of pressure on the field right now.
Oh, Ogerpon going to come in, actually.
I'm surprised at that. I think Rillaboom puts so much pressure on that Urshifu.
Well, Ogerpon does have Grassy Glide, so that's another thing that you have to keep in mind.
Yeah, I mean, Ogerpon especially will work, but I don't know. I feel like you're pretty safe to go in. You can go into either. Yeah, you know, Ogerpon makes sense because you do have Wood Hammer, and that will do more damage, especially in the grassy terrain, to whatever comes out. Because if they switch out the Urshifu, you're in a much safer spot to go into the Wood Hammer into anything else because it's going to deal so much damage. The thing is, it's tough because you've got to go for Stomping Tantrum on that Landorus. You have to. And now if you're Brian, you have so many options, I think.
I see like maybe 3 things he can do here, but it's all going to be depending on like what happens here. And Urshifu does not want to take aggressive attack.
This is going to go back in the wind every 20.
Arcanine.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because
so it will get the Intimidate off into the Ogerpon, but you know it's still neutral. It's neutral effectiveness,
This
and
should
it's
do some-
grassy terrain, and that's a lot of damage to the Arcanine. What do the Iron Hands do exactly? That's the question we're going to be asking right now. Lander's just going to U-turn into the Lander slot, not
Okay.
going to do a lot of damage, but will switch back out.
That's most likely a heavy slam. That's got to be a heavy slam, right? I mean, it could, if you read it right and go for a drain punch, great. But I'm most likely it's heavy slam. It's drain punch on the Ogerpon. Okay, that's much better. That's much better. Yeah. Okay, this is pretty. Robert's not in a horrible spot. You can grassy glide on the right side, and you can pretty much. Grassy glide doing 60. Yeah, it's going to be a really, really close one. I think what Robert did there was the smart call. There's one thing that would basically win Brian the game right now, and that is if Brian goes for the Flare Blitz on the Rillaboom slot. Or, no, never mind.
It will fall to a grassy glide at that
No,
point.
my bad. I, for some reason, I was thinking that...
Well, you are going to see the Ogremon switch out into that Landorus Therian, so it's going to be another attack drop, importantly, into Iron Hands.
Okay.
May not matter to the Arcanine, depending on whether or not Rillaboom went for a grassy glide or a fake out.
I'm
But
pretty sure it went grassy glide, which I think can knock out Arcanine, but if
oh, Iron Hand switching.
that's the smart call.
We didn't know there's an Urshifu in the back, and that's going to be the switch in, but it would have been really good if Robert would have read that, but I don't think he did that.
I think you're
Extreme Speed comes out, and Landorus takes it pretty well with that Choice Band. And here is the grassy glide into the
It is
Arcanine,
enough.
takes a knockout.
It is enough. I think there's one thing that can really make this a win. Yeah, Iron, you fake out. At this point, Brian's not in a horrible spot. Fake out that Rillaboom slot, and you go for the Surging Strikes on the Lander slot.
Yeah, because if you go Surging Strikes into the Landorus slot, you get either super effective damage on the Landorus, you guarantee a knockout that slot.
Yep, for sure. And I think you also, the nice thing here with Robert, and I would not be surprised if this is a risky play and we see a Protect on Urshifu.
Fake out into Rillaboom. So
Okay, this just gave. I think this just gave the game to Brian. I'm pretty confident on that one actually.
where did the Surging Strikes go, though? That's the question we have to be asking here. It went into the Landorus, it's dropping.
Here's the thing, and this is something that Robert's going to need to watch out for. Your grassy terrain ends this turn.
Oh, that's actually, if that's the case, then Grassy Glide is no longer an option.
And at that point, it's Rillaboom versus Iron Hands. But you also have to. The thing is, if it's that,
Yeah, it's gone.
So now, I mean, at this point, okay. Here's the thing. Ogerpon will most likely outspeed the Urshifu, but Urshifu's Terra Water and could go for
Aqua Jet?
I don't think that's enough damage. You have to. So it still could go to Robert, but you have to be very, very careful with your protects.
Yeah, I mean, Spiky Shield into the... Okay, it's going to be a straight up Aqua Jet.
Terra Water, Aqua Jet, I don't know.
Mystic Water boosted. It's also a Mystic Water hold, and it is enough,
It's
to,
enough.
enough to take out the Ogerpon.
That gives the Brian, because at this point, there's not much you can do.
Wood Hammer goes into the Iron Hands. Would it have been enough? Oh, half damage.
And then you could just recover with Drain Punch, and that's it. The math works out where Brian picks up the KO here. Wow. Oh,
What
man.
a close set.
That was insane. This is why I love Pokemon. It's one of those matches where it's like 50-50s. Like I said, you have to plan your protects right. But honestly, huge props to Brian for that Terra Water. I think that because that Aqua Jet would not have knocked out. We saw how much Surging Strikes did without it in the last game. That Aqua Jet just with the Terra Water was really good, as well as the Intimidate cycling. I love the Intimidate cyclings on both sides, and I think that at the end of the day here, both players had really good teams. I do think Brian's team had had a few options more, and that's why Brian was able to do a bit better in this matchup. There's just so many things that you had to account for with double grass. I mean, you have Arcanine, you had Tornadus, you had Urshifu, and predicting when each of those are going to come out proved to be tricky. But I do think both teams are fantastic. And Brian now 2-0, Robert 1-1. We can see both of them in Top Cut later today. So yeah, keep it here. It's going to be an exciting rest of the day to see what else people are cooking up for Regulation E. We will see you guys back here for the next match.